A big kit can be quite daunting, especially for new hobbyists. I'm going to show you it doesn't have to be scary or overwhelming. In this video, we're going to have a look at the Ork Kill Rig, which can also be built as the Hunter Rig, and I'm going to show you how I break it up into sub-assemblies for building and for painting as well. Now I know this video is a little bit late, but I initially didn't make a video on it because all the popular YouTubers had been given this weeks in advance. They'd all done their reviews on it, they'd all done their paint jobs on it, but you know what, I thought, to heck with that, I've paid my own money for this. I'm not bound to anything, and you will get my honest opinion on it, so I thought that was worth something. This thing took me ages to build. I don't know exactly how long because I did it over a few nights, but I would estimate 4 to 5 hours for build and clean up. Now, if you're a beginner, don't panic, don't be overwhelmed. Just take it easy and work your way through it. You will get there in the end. It definitely wasn't a difficult build, but there were a couple of mistakes in the instructions which made it a little bit trickier. And if you're not looking out for them, you might miss them and glue something to the wrong bit. The first mistake is bits 48 and 53 go into different holes than those marked. The ones it tells you to put them into are for guy ropes later on, so if you glued them in there, the whole build would be a disaster. The other one is, it tells you to look for Ork body 70, and what you're looking for is body 74, because you've already used bit 70. Not a big deal, but it did cause me minor confusion, and for a £75 kit, you shouldn't be getting these mistakes. Let's talk about my sub-assemblies now. I'm in no way stating that this is the best way of doing it. All it is the best way of doing it for me. So I've left all the orcs separate. I've built them separately because I'm going to undercoat them white because I want a nice white bright undercoat for the green. Everything else will be sprayed in black and then sprayed with lead belcher. And I'll probably put a heavy wash of Nuln Oil on top of that. And that is a great base to paint on. So your whites, your reds, your blacks, whatever you want will go really well over the lead belcher. That's the way I'm going to do it. I think it's the least labour intensive way of doing a big kit like this. A lot of the personality of this model comes from the orcs hanging off it everywhere. There's 6 in total. So I'm really going to take my time with them and try to do my best job possible. I think the eye will be drawn to the green orcs on this. So just do your best on them. If you've got a scheme in mind, great. If not, I'll tell you how I'm going to paint them later on. So I've left the orcs separate, I've left the driver's cab in 2 pieces, I've left the sides off, and I've left the harpoon gun and the other gun off as well. There's also the Warboy tower, hate that name. I've left that off as well. You can reconfigure this. If you decide to build the kill rig, you can reconfigure it for the hunter rig. And the way you would do that, not with any fancy magnetisation or anything like that, all the bits have a really good friction fit, so you can just swap them around as you need to. I think this is a really good feature. Also, the Warboy, it tells you to glue him into his Warboy tower. Don't do that. Glue him onto the base, and then the base slots perfectly in. So if you decide to do the hunter rig, which doesn't have him in it, you can just take him out and use him as a foot troop. So that's a really good design on this. I left the orc on the harpoon launcher's right arm off because otherwise you have to glue it on because they clamp onto the sides, so I wouldn't be able to take him off for painting, so I've left his right arm off. Also the trampler squig, the big squig at the front, I've left that off, but that clips on really securely. I probably won't glue that at all, it just clips on and it's held in place. The squig will need gap filling. That thing is as wide as the Clyde, but all I'll do with that is get a damp brush, slather on Vallejo plastic putty over the gap and leave it to dry. Once it's dried, I'll be able to sand it back. I'll then run my fingernail over it, and if it doesn't catch at all, then that gap's good. If it does catch, rinse and repeat until you can't feel anything. You still want it to be smooth, but you don't want to be able to feel a ridge or anything like that. After you've got that, you're ready to go. The squig is a major part of the look and feel of this model, so you really want to get it right. If after priming you see a little gap, especially on the face because the line runs straight down the middle of the face, you want to go back and fill that, even if you've primed already. Fill it, sand it, and then prime again. You don't want to leave a gap at all because that will ruin your whole model. You will really regret walking away from this thing with a big gap on it, trust me. I've done it myself. You don't want it. It is a bit cliched, but time put in at this stage gives a better finish overall. Onto the Beastsnaggas, and I'm really happy that we've got them, because they add a totally alternative look to the orcs, and it fits perfectly with their tribal theme. We've got the Shark Squig, we've got the Squig Hog Riders, and we've got the Kill Rig, which just brings the haphazard nature of the orcs to life. It's fantastic. I really love it. If I had the time, I would love to add to this with my 3D printer and really go to town on it. The Trampler Squig could do with a few more exhausts and engines just to help it out, but other than that, it's pretty great as it is. I would also want to add more boys to it, like just hanging off everywhere, because I believe that is the orky aesthetic that looks the best. The Kill Rig can take 10 models, and the Hunter Rig can carry 15. So you could maybe model that in some way. I do have a minor complaint, and that was that after the build was finished, the sprue was picked entirely clean. There was not one spare bit for my bits box. If you get a battle wagon or any other orky thing, there's normally poles and glyphs and all sorts of things left over, but there was nothing here. So that was a bit disappointing. I do like to increase my bits box when I can. As with all GW kits, it's the details that make them so fantastic. There's a little Grot stuck in the mast. He's just looking out a little porthole, and it immediately got me wondering, why is he there? Is he being punished? Is he helping? Is he stowing away? I really want to know. There's also a big metal beast skull on the back of the vehicle, and it looks like it might be a rudder or something like that. I didn't notice it until I'd built it. The Warboy sits in his tower. He's got lightning things coming out his shoulders. Another great model, and as I mentioned earlier, if you keep him on the stand, then you'll be able to take him in and out as you need to, and you'll be able to swap the tower out with a gun or whatever you like. Totally configurable. You can use it as a kill rig or a hunter rig. You don't have to buy two just to swap between them. I was surprised by the size of the kit, but I probably shouldn't have been, considering it was a £75 model. Here he is with Mephiston, and he absolutely dwarfs him. Here he is with the Warboss, who's slightly bigger than Mephiston, but still looks tiny in comparison to this thing. Here he is with my Gorkanaut, which is undergoing repairs at the moment, that's why it's missing a few bits. And last but not least, here it is with a Stompa, which is a massive model, but this one isn't much smaller. So as you can see, it's pretty big, and for the £75 price tag, it's difficult to justify that, but with current GW pricing, it's probably about right. With a model with a ton of sub-assemblies, I always find it much better to tackle the paint job straight away, otherwise you could maybe lose bits. If you can't tackle it straight away, make sure you put all the bits in a container or where you will find them, because if you leave it for a week or two, you can guarantee that you'll lose bits. After undercoating the Orks white and the Kill Rig black and then lead belcher, it'll be time to paint in all the details. I'm not going to go over that here. All the details will be the same as I painted my boss bunker, which will be up here somewhere. So just follow that and you'll be fine. Chances are if you've picked up this model, it won't be your first orc model. You'll already have painted a few boys. So just paint all the orcs in that particular colour scheme that you've chosen. For the boys, I'm just going to use a base of Warboss green, shade of Bealtan green, and then a mix of Warboss green and Skarsnik green, and mix more Skarsnik in until I'm highlighting with pure Skarsnik. After that, I'll start mixing Kislev flesh in with the Skarsnik until I get up to pure Kislev flesh. I find that works really well on my orcs, and I'm very happy with the outcome. There are loads of orc recipes online though, so just pick the one that you like the best. The reason that I'll tackle the orcs first is actually pretty silly. As I build a big model, I like to place things on to see how they look. So if I've got nicely painted orcs, I'll get more of a feel of how the model will look when it's finished. So I'll paint the orcs and I'll feel great about doing that, because that is a big part of the model done. After the orcs, I will paint the Squig, because that'll probably be the most challenging. It's got a lot of wide areas, like flat muscle areas, so it's not going to be the easiest thing to paint. For the rest of the model, I'll sit and have a good look at it and break it down into colour groups. So I'll group everything that's white, everything that's silver, everything that's black, everything that's red, so on, so on. Write it down if you need to. If you're not experienced enough to know what the highlight and the shade colour would be in your head, just write it down. You could get advice on the Citadel Colour app, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter. Just ask whatever you need to ask, get the information you need, write it down, and then you'll have a plan to execute when you go to paint it. If you're experienced, then you'll know what colour's next, and it'll be fine. My plan would look something like this. For red, my base colour would be Mephistone red, really strong, lovely red. And then I would shade with Agrax Earthshade, and then I would mix Mephistone and Evil Sun's Scarlet together. And then the next highlight would be Evil Sun's, and then I'd do the same with Fire Dragon Bright. So Evil Sun's and a bit of Fire Dragon Bright, increase that until I'm happy, and then a final highlight of Fire Dragon. If you break down the painting of your model in that way, it'll be really easy to follow. You'll make few mistakes, and you won't be wondering what a texture is and what colour it should be, because you'll have thought about it beforehand and you'll have written it down. I'm not going to pretend that tackling a big model is the easiest thing in the hobby. It definitely isn't. But if you break it down into manageable chunks to simplify it, then even the newest hobbyist could give it a go. Please remember, these are just guidelines. This is how I would do it. If you want to do things in a different order or do different sub-assemblies, if you're more confident building the model completely and then painting bits, getting your brush into all the nooks and crannies, then you go for it. There's one thing for sure, and that is the sense of achievement when you complete it will be amazing. So just go for it, be brave. If you got anything out of this video, please let me know in the comments below. Maybe even like and subscribe. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.